another episode as I educate you on speeding tickets and why you should challenge every speeding ticket. By now, I got a few episodes up. Trial by declaration, don't do it. Interviews from lawyers on why always to get legal representation from DUIs. Serious matters always have representation. And this episode is going to be about giving you knowledge on why every speeding ticket should be challenged. So without further to-dos, let's dive right into this. We're going to start off with, I call this episode, it's like taking candy from a baby, is what they have been doing to the general public for decades now. And some of this documentation will let you guys know what I'm talking about and why I've challenged every speeding ticket and won, and why my friends that have challenged speeding tickets have won, because it's very hard to prove that you were the one speeding. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off with what I have done. So kind of walk through it all. It's kind of what you get with the packet. You're going to get introductions and bullet points of the important stuff. It's going to introduce you to the packet, what it's all about. So $7 billion a year. You've seen me run that ticker on a few other videos. That is what slush funds all around the country receive from uncontested tickets. People just saying guilty and they pay it. So the reason I have started this company and trying to get public awareness out is that everyone I ask, which you'll see on TikTok, I walk up to people and ask what you do when you get a speeding ticket. And all of them say, pay it. And then I talk to them afterwards and I fill them in. They're like, I never knew you could contest it. The whole point of the Speedstar.com is that just because you get a ticket doesn't mean you owe that money. What that means is the cop just gave you a piece of paper. The prosecutor now, if he wants to, has a job to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, you were the one speeding. And let me show you why they don't want to get into that battle. Because it's so impossible to prove that you were the one speeding. And this is why they never go to trial. Because they can't prove that it was you. Let's get into it. This industry, which comprises of the courts, police, lawyers, and insurance companies, have created a system within the traffic ticket industry to enforce and collect large fines. This has been their sole focus, raising money for their system of funneling money. I call it the money funnel, and we're going to get into it. So imagine for a moment that I approach you and I walk up to you and hand you a ticket. Couple $100. It's going to raise your insurance. It's going to take some points off your license. You're not going to be happy. You have to pay this. You would question, hopefully, what are my rights? Would you want to know your options? Or would you just automatically pay the fine? And that fine, like we talk about in other episodes, is a $2,000 fine over the course of the years. It's not just what's on the ticket. It's court costs, insurance, points off your license. Could be your job. We're so accustomed to just paying the fine. We have forgotten that the courts must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it was actually you who was speeding. So the best alternative is to defend yourself and say no. Prove it. And that's what the packet does. You should almost challenge everyone. The fine doesn't change. You're not going to go to jail. The punishment doesn't get worse. By purchasing the packet today, you save yourself the fines, the penalties, the heightened insurance premiums, and possibly your privileges from revocation. So let's go back a little bit here. Packet, which I've put together over the course of 20 years, but I've really tweaked it and fine-tuned it over the course of this past year. It's a process which I've been able to get out of every citation dismissed. Here's recommendations of what not to do: pay the fine and eat the points. Don't do that. Showing up to court with excuses, we talked about that. Do not show up to court with excuses. Beg for mercy from the judge. These are all excuses that lawyers' blogs tell you to do. They never work. They never work. What I recommend is show up prepared with the proper information in order to defend yourself like a professional. To be honest, you don't even have to show up. My packet waives the first court hearing and lets them know what you're going to do. And that's what starts the process. So The majority of the population assume that by simply paying the citation is the way to go. Unfortunately, this is the wrong assumption. Tickets stay on your record for up to 10 years. Future tickets within that window of time can bring harsher penalties and double up your fines, double up your insurance premiums, even taking the driver's education court. So if you get another ticket within that time frame, they can use that at a later date as well. And they stay on your record and can be used against you within the statute of limitations of your state. Find an attorney, good luck. They don't really return emails or phone calls. And if they do, it's $500-600. It's just not worth their time to do it for less than that, which I get. I've developed a system for $100. It takes the place of all that. It's amazing. And it actually does a better job. Remember, this is huge. I hope I worded this correctly. 90% of tickets are dismissed and 100% are dismissible. That's huge. The process is simple. Purchase the packet, and like I said, all citations can and should be contested, and there are practical reasons for fighting your traffic tickets. So total amount of fine at the bottom, anywhere from $12.80 to $31.60 for a simple $100 speeding ticket. You don't see that big picture, but it's right there. Let's move right along. So I want to get into this right here. This is part of the packet as well. So every speeding ticket must be challenged. And here is why. Here is the golden egg that I don't think they wanted the public to know about. But here it is. And this is why tickets really don't go to trial. They can't. Like I said, in 2021, 22, 23, we're gonna challenge all tickets. That is the whole point of this. And the more that challenge it, the better. The more the system will turn on itself, because it's not a money funnel anymore. They have to do a lot more work. That's the whole point of this. So allow me to go over some facts that are real. So this is straight out of the Bureau of Communication. This is out of the Division of State Troopers, their Office of Training, which is their manual that they are trained for when it comes to radar. U.S. Department of Justice, National Institute of Justice. And these are all manuals that courts have to allow in because they have judicial notice. And we'll get into that later. But you won't even need that. You're not even going to get to that point. So it says, in quotes, in general, be aware that it is usually not advisable to conduct moving radar operations in congested traffic, where selectivity problems and shadowing are likely to occur, or at places where there are many reflective objects alongside the road. Aluminum road signs, billboards, other cars, large semis. In all cases, when using moving radar, verify that the correct patrol speed has gone into the target speed calculation. So pretty much what that's saying is don't use moving radar in congested traffic. Let's keep reading. Absolute identification is difficult of any vehicle if there are confusing targets, such as several lanes of traffic, both large and small vehicles. The officer does not know which vehicle the radar device is pointed at, and must decide after the violation has occurred which vehicle activated the alarm. The possibility for error is great under these circumstances. No one can fight with that. Even you're probably saying at home. Well, there you go. There's the smoking gun. This whole article between these manuals that are federal manuals, training manuals, go over all these. And these next quotations are from a landmark case. It's huge in the speeding ticket world. It's a New Jersey Superior case from back in the 80s, 70s, 80s. And it says, the courts generally adhere to the rule that the target closest to the radar unit when out in front of other traffic is the violator. The court conceded that in some situations, such as heavy approaching traffic in multiple lanes where no one car is clearly in front, it will always be difficult, if not impossible, to identify a target. You can't take that to trial. This is a great example. So I lived in Seattle for 20 years. And there's a place called the I-5 corridor in between Seattle and Tacoma. And there's motorcycle cops every day in rush hour picking out cars, just picking out cars and pulling them over. Now the problem is it's bumper to bumper traffic from Seattle to Tacoma during this rush hour. So what they're doing, they don't know who it is. They're just picking out cars randomly. But again, they can't verify who it was. I've challenged every ticket I've got on this corridor, and I've won every ticket. because no judge, no prosecutor is going to want to even attempt to take this to court. Just a great example, and there's freeways like that all over the country where it's just heavy congested traffic. You'll see 2 or 3 cops sitting in the median and they're usually talking, having donuts. They go pick someone out of the crowd. And it's usually that sporty car, a car that really grabs their attention. Here we go again. Let's go. Again, if not impossible. Impossible is not a good word that a prosecutor wants to take to trial. Yeah, 90% of these drivers that get tickets pay them because they don't understand they have rights. No one knows that you can contest a speeding ticket. Unbelievable. That pretty much you were picked out of a group of vehicles. It was assumed motorist that was speeding. In these types of situations, police randomly pull motorists over and hand out tickets to meet quota, regardless of radar or not. So what are you going to do? Most motorists pay these tickets. This is why the packet will turn this system on itself. These videos are here to educate you on the packet and how simple it is. It's really simple. If you know about the Speedstar.com, I wouldn't even stress when you get pulled over. You automatically know you're good. So the money funnel has come to an end. And here's really a damning one. This is that landmark case I was talking about out of New Jersey. Moving radar should not be used along roads where billboards and other large objects such as trucks could induce a significant co-scene or shadowing error and thus produce incorrect speed measurements. If moving radar is nevertheless used under such circumstances, the prosecution should be prepared to show that the operator verified his patrol car speed, she didn't, as registered by the radar device, with the speed shown by the patrol car speedometer. So all these are from this landmark case, and it makes it so difficult for the prosecution to even think about moving forward with any speeding ticket. It's like taking candy from a baby. I might call this episode, it's like taking candy from a baby, because it has been. And that $7 billion a year figure is huge. And that's just what they get for their slush funds. Imagine insurance premiums. Imagine lawyers. It's such a money funnel. It's never going to go away. But we can fight every ticket and turn the system on itself. The mandatory calibration requirements, which are never done. This is what's all in the packet. This explains the whole thing. I'm making this public knowledge, and it's amazing. It's so simple. It's simple. When you get a ticket, you're not guilty. It's just a ticket. The prosecution has to prove you're guilty, or you have to say yourself that you're guilty, which I don't recommend. Get the packet, $100, case closed, done. So it's like taking candy from a baby. Another big one. People really don't pay attention to this, but on one of my tickets that I got out of, a step-up substation that are in the general area of where your ticket was established, they put off so much radiation that it's impossible to get a reading. And that's where all these other errors come in. That's the science stuff. You don't need to worry about that, but I do include that in the packet as well as general terms for you to familiarize yourself with. There's just a lot of information that you're not going to need, but that you are prepared. I have built this packet. Like I said, I've spent over a year fine-tuning and making it very simple. The main thing is they just don't know what target they hit. Even with laser, it's impossible. I hope that enlightens you on why speeding tickets don't go to trial. They just can't. They don't know who it is. They don't want to deal with this at all. So all of you who have gotten speeding ticket, challenge every ticket. Get the packet, mail it in. Here's another little tip and pointer. In California or Florida or wherever they do radar by airplane, when you challenge the ticket, both officers must, I repeat, must be at the court if they're going to challenge a ticket. Because both were part of that speed reading, and one can't say what the other was doing. So they both must be present. Their stories must corroborate, or else it's dismissed. That's a free tip for you. Remember that anytime there's a speed trap set up where an officer clocked you and another officer pulled you over, they both must be at the trial. Remember that if you're ever in that situation, but bottom line, you'll never get there. It's a very low percentile if you do. But if you do, there's a little extra knowledge for you. So that's what I'm going to call this episode. It's like taking candy from a baby. And if we allow them to, they'll keep doing it. I've built a system here that gets everybody, every vehicle, every speeding infraction off. It's just a matter of putting in a little work. 10 minutes of your time and mail it in and done. Let the system play itself out. All right, that's it for this. It's like taking candy from a baby. Take care until the next episode.